The operation of airstrikes and artillery power earlier had a lot of devastating effect on individuals identified as Islamic State linked to ADF Democratic Forces rebel group a few days ago. As a result, both armies are deliberately offering medical outreach programs and constructing water point facilities to civilian population in Mukakati, Kitabimbo and Kamango. They have also promised to build a road from Beni to Mukakati forward operating base, a launch pad to UPDF troops. Speaking at one of the sensitization activities in North Kivu province, Colonel James Kasule explained that the UPDF presence in DRC Congo is aimed on action of ADF, like the recent killings of innocent civilians in Kampala through suicide bombs, and constructing youth into terror groups, which has destabilized peace and security in both Uganda and DRC Congo. The Task Force Commander Operations Suja, Colonel James Kasule, also called upon civilians to cooperate with the joint security forces and provide information leading to the elimination of wrong elements in their communities.
Finally, the head of State House Anti-Corruption Unit, Colonel Edith Nakalema, has called for a sensitization drive targeting young persons to detest corruption as government eliminates old ones. Colonel Nakalema said this during a courtesy visit to Uganda Broadcasting Corporation, where she visited Uganda Broadcasting Corporation to meet management and its editors. Corruption is a challenge to the country and hinders service delivery. Character assassination hinders the unit, which will not bow down to the highly sophisticated nature of the perpetrators of corruption. Colonel Nakalema added that what gives them courage in fighting corruption is the public trust in the unit and the support the Commander-in-Chief has offered and to eradicating corruption in the country. Colonel Edith Nakalema visit is part of initiatives by State House Anti-Corruption Unit ahead of the International Anti-Corruption Day due tomorrow, 9 December 2021, on the theme Promoting Active Citizen Participation in Social Accountability. Nakalema applauded Uganda Broadcasting Corporation in the fight against corruption, and the Managing Director, Uganda Broadcasting Corporation, Wilston Agaba, pledged the corporation's support.
In a diplomatic boycott of Beijing Winter Olympics. Now, Australia will not send officials to the Winter Olympics in Beijing, Prime Minister Scott Morrison said on Wednesday, now joining the US diplomatic boycott of the event and risking a further soaring of the relationship with China. And the United States also did come out to announce a boycott on Monday, citing China's human rights atrocities, fueling anger in China, which warned of resolute countermeasures in response. Despite the threat, Morrison and Canberra will join the diplomatic boycott. Now, Australian government officials will therefore not be going to China for those games. Australian athletes, though, through Morrison told reporters, will go. Now, the former boycott risks further strains of Australia's relationship with China in its largest trading partner, which soared after the Canberra introduced foreign interference law banned Huawei technologies from its 5G broadband network and called for an independent investigation into the origins of COVID-19, a recent decision to acquire nuclear-powered submarines and the AUKUS pact that had added such tension. Now, the World Health Organization also came out to note that vaccines should work against Omicron variant. Now, existing vaccines should still perfectly well protect people who contract Omicron variant from severe COVID cases. The World Health Organization officials say it comes as the first lab test of the new variant in South Africa suggests it can partially evade the Pfizer jab. Now, researchers say there was a very large drop in how well the vaccine antibodies neutralized the new strain, but the World Health Organization, Dr. Mike Ryan, said there was no sign Omicron would be better at evading vaccines than the variant. We have highly effective vaccines that have proved effective against all variants so far in terms of severe disease and hospitalization, and there is no reason to expect that it wouldn't be so for the Omicron. Dr. Ryan, the World Health Organization Emergencies Director, told the news. Now, at least 38 people have died in a huge fire that tore through an overcrowded prison in Burundi. Political capital Gitega Vice President Prosper Bazombaza said the blaze that broke out at about 4 a.m. on Tuesday also left 69 others injured and destroyed several areas of the facility. Now, Bazomboza, who visited the scene of the tragedy with several senior ministers, did not say what might have caused such a fire. One inmate said prisoners had perished in the flames, while witnesses said those with the most serious burns were being ferried to hospital in police and army pick-up trucks.
From the Climate Council, it has exposed failures in coalition response to the crisis. Now, a wide range of failures in government's responses to climate crisis have been highlighted by the Climate Change Advisory Council in its review of the year. It warns that these failings highlight the risk that critical targets for the period to 2030 will not be met, especially in terms of reducing carbon emissions, and the independent body identifies a significant gap between climate action policy and climate action delivery. It singles out the lack of long-term emission reduction strategy, delays in implementation of the 2019 Climate Action Plan, and missed emission reduction targets last year. The Council emphasizes that the urgency required in shifting from planning to action to reduce emissions and the need to put Ireland on track to achieve climate neutrality and climate resilience by 2050. Now, such implementation gaps underline the importance of a continued and deepening focus on climate governance in Ireland and the need to further institutionalize implementation, monitoring and evaluation of climate action. Now, to be resilient to changing climate, the Council warns that much greater focus must be given across governments to climate change adaptation and prepare for the inevitable impacts.
Well, thank you so much, Mola and Kenyana. We definitely have to prepare for the inevitable. Even if it is possible, we can make sure that we do not open the windows for it to be possible. Now, you need to keep your health in check now more than ever. Let's not slow down. Let's not stop. Let's not take a breather. Let's not pause. And one of the ways that we can do that is by
taking Hallelujah turmeric, Hallelujah ginger tea, drink every morning, every day. Make it your daily routine to at least have one of these bottles. They will greatly boost your immune system, because what you need and you cannot have at the same time or come by easily, Hallelujah Reflexology got that, packed it in this bottle, and it's ready for you to consume. Very safe, certified by the Uganda National Bureau of Standards. So at any shop, any supermarket, just get this bottle at only 1,500 Uganda shillings.
Speaking of ready, we are ready to have your engagement in our poll question this morning.
And our poll question will be: what more measures should be taken to prevent the spread of COVID-19 in the face of the new Omicron variant? Now, be able to hit our social medias, hashtag UBCGMU, and on our WhatsApp 0709 60 25 92.
All right, thank you so much. So we shall be expecting some feedback from Arturo from Shema District and also Barak from within the city center, who are big fans of Good Morning Uganda. As we journey on, of course, we do have to prepare you for what is yet to come ahead. We do have people that also are on YouTube, streaming live on UBC Television Uganda, which is our YouTube handle. On Twitter, you can find every update and our links to Good Morning Uganda, as well as more discussions as the day is going to be going on Twitter at UBC TV Uganda. Now, that definitely brings us to give you an insight into what to expect this Wednesday morning. Robert Kirabo, what does the 8 o'clock hour look like for you?
Well, tomorrow is World International Anti-Corruption Day, or World Anti-Corruption Day, and we are going to be discussing issues of corruption in connection to how we use the funds we get. And we expect officials from the Uganda Death Network who will be here and we will be deliberating on this.
Okay, all right, and of course the 8 o'clock hour is always crowned up by a sports update from Ruben Pima Chivirango, who will be coming through with the Champions League, the results and the fixtures for tonight, and much more, of course. In our 7 o'clock hour, we kickstart it off with our newsreel, and Felix Nkunda shares our newsreel for this morning.
And of course, we'll be touching base with the new variants, trying to understand how we're going to get and maneuver away, and probably also how prepared and what can be done, and also what can be avoided as we do be ushering ourselves to the end of the year. The expectation is that we will be opening our economy come January. How do we get there safe?
All right, and Molen Kenana, what do you have prepared for us this morning?
Well, Priscilla, as we talk about the scare around COVID-19, the one on climate change is actually getting more and more real. Now, researchers have made a black box that is for future generation. Now, this box is like the size of a bus, and this is meant to store all climate data and information about climate change for future generations. Now, the anticipation is that sooner or later we are going to destroy Earth somehow with our behaviors if we don't fight this climate crisis. We'll take more information with that story and see how this is going to work.
Well, my imagination has imagined a flash the size of a bus to store information on climate change.
It's a huge facility, and looking at it from the pictures that are going across right now, it looks like this has been powered with, you know, the solar and battery to make sure that it will withstand even up to 5 decades. And, you know, all the, in case someone finds it, if people were to find it, what they will use the manual and how to encode some of that data. It's amazing.
Okay, all right. Well, sounds like vibranium in the movie Wakanda.
Yeah.
All right, we'll definitely be catching up with that at the end of our 7 o'clock hour. In between there, we'll look at the papers this morning and the traffic update, and then we'll definitely journey on. But for now, we take a short breather, leave you for the song of the day, and continue in the 7 o'clock hour. Priscilla Nalwoga alongside Felix Nkunda and Robert Kirabo into our newsreel. And I want to say a special morning to Katamba Umaru, who is on stream for that is YouTube, which is UBC Television Uganda. You do have Ahimbisiwa Daniel, who woke up with us yesterday. Good morning to you. Joel Gaddafi, good morning to you. Ochen Moses, thank you so much for streaming with us. Wat Mon Felix, thank you so much for streaming with us. And of course, Area 2 has Simon also. Thank you so much for streaming with us. And you can stream with us as you journey on into your next program for the day. We'll still be here with you and we'll travel with you. Now, speaking of which, we would like to first give you an intel into our poll question this morning, what it entails and how you can actually be a part of this morning's discussion.
And our poll question is, what more measures should be taken to prevent the spread of COVID-19 in the face of the new Omicron variant? And be able to share with us again on our social medias, that is on Twitter, UBC GMU, and of course on our WhatsApp. The number will be going on your screen. And for those of you who are following or watching from YouTube, be able to leave a message. And also on the same number, you can leave an SMS.
Well, thank you so much, Felix. Now, in the wake of this morning, of course, we come into the morning with 7 cases that have been confirmed of Omicron virus. Now, that's definitely something that has been pressurizing for us as Uganda. We've been waiting for this moment, wondering when exactly we'll have our first detection, which was yesterday at Entebbe. 7 cases were confirmed having or carrying the Omicron variant. You do have 5 of them having arrived from Nigeria and the other 2 having arrived from South Africa. As we speak, of course, the confirmed cases are in isolation, but they're not severe cases, and that is definitely something that is encouraging. But again, for the general public, we definitely give you the opportunity to go for your jab. With such information, you get to realize that these things are near us. You could be the next victim, and you can survive only if you've gotten your vaccination. But that's definitely a campaign that is ongoing currently. But an update from the Ministry of Health: they have confirmed and isolated the 7 cases. They're not severely ill. Neither is the population at stake right now, but we are encouraged, of course, to remain calm, get vaccinated against COVID-19 and adhere to the SOPs, as Moran Kenana earlier on had emphasized that now more than ever is the time to go back to what we should be doing and doing it appropriately. The big question is, what are the threats that are posed by the new variant that has now been discovered or detected in Uganda? That is something, of course, the World Health Organization has come out to make comment on. Felix Nkunda.
Yeah, clearly we have had saints from various players, various authors of in terms of medical health or health, biochemistry experts and all that have come out to make mention and relate this particular Omicron to not be that lethal, as we did say earlier. However, our interest may not necessarily be directly into whether or not lethal, but how able are we to guard ourselves entirely as a country from any threat. Because up till today, we are made to believe that these probably and more will have to come, either in the short term or in the long run. Remember the first time we thought we had dealt with the first wave, then the new variant, now Omicron, probably mid next year there will be another one, and we won't know what to do. I think we need to say this is like an eye-opener for us, that how about we start looking at a long-term solution. And in our discussions, or in what is so far cast to paper, we have come to notice that the only way out is to have vaccinations. Other countries, as Priscilla said, have moved to boosting the vaccinations. What are we doing about that? No wonder when we talk about these vaccination drives, and what we said, I think just 2 days ago, almost we were like predicting that we need to intensify these vaccination drives. Because imagine, and the World Health Organization is saying that as long as people have been vaccinated, they are protected. At least on the face of it, the shell of the approach is that they are protected. Now, what are we doing as a country? We look at COVID-19 in a spectrum of about 5 or 6 approaches. One, you look at its effect on the common effects of humanity, like income, or one can call salary. Look at it And that will definitely work towards welfare, which has things like transport, movement, communication, you know, feeding, blah, 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 and all those things. Then you look at it in terms of education. You know, what is the effect of COVID-19 on education entirely? Then you come and look at it in terms of political welfare of states. Now, some countries actually were proposing that they don't go for elections. Remember also those discussions. Yeah. That is all the effect of COVID. Now, it means that if these continuous variants that come in two countries are not handled systematically, and I said that without fear of contradiction, most of the countries that have failed to handle such issues smartly will live in a or will see dire effects in the very near future. Yesterday I went to look at the entire world and how countries have fared in terms of vaccination. I noticed that when you look at European countries, most of them are above 60% in terms of vaccination. And that explains how open their economies are. If you look at, for example, like some of you who watch sports, if you watched some of these games, like the Premier League, yeah, you go to the La Liga of this world, you go to Italy, the Serie A, the Serie B, you go to all the leagues, even in the US. When
you talk about football or sports for that matter, yesterday we had a confirmation of COVID-19 cases in Tottenham Hotspurs.
You can imagine.
Yeah. So that definitely is a worrying thing.
But for them, today their worry is not actually the cases, because they have worked strides to make sure that even if the people get the COVID, it won't be as lethal as it was before. So they have turned COVID-19 from being a scare to a simple disease. Today doesn't make news when in Europe and you say you have COVID-19, because of the vaccination, because of the other avenues they have put in place to make it look that way. Now, the challenge for us in this third world country is that have we done enough in making COVID-19 like a cough, make it be like I have a bit of fever, like it doesn't cause alarm. We don't have to close the whole country. We don't have to close people home. We need, but the only way to do that, we must intensify vaccination, because vaccination gives unto the ability, like it puts a shield, in as much as the shield can be poked and what, but there's a shield. So when this variant came, I think it causes new reason for the ministry, the government, and other partner entities in terms of this vaccination or health matters in the country, to see that now if you have been moving at a speed of about 6, probably we should engage the 7th gear in terms of the vaccination drive.
All right. Well, definitely researchers are working left, right, and center to ensure that they come up with possible ways to be able to manage this variant. Of course, there's the research that is ongoing to ensure that the available vaccines on the market are also able to fight it. One of the things that we already know is that it travels very fast. That's one. But then again, the good side of it is that it has mild effects so far that have been registered. No hospitalization, mild effects. And so we want to ask ourselves, in regards to the vaccines that are available on the market, can they be able to deal with this mild variant of COVID-19 when it comes to the immunization or the vaccination? The immunity of those that have been vaccinated, what is the state, and case against this new variant?
Well, following a lot of speculations when this new variant came out, first the world was shocked to hear of this new variant. And the first information that came out, it's more lethal, it is resistant to the current vaccines. So much was said. But actually, World Health Organization came out to clarify that the vaccines we have currently on market are doing a good job, and they are able also to give the necessary immunity to someone's body against this very variant. Because what happens when a person is vaccinated, what these vaccines do is they introduce something similar to that particular virus in your body. And so your body, the white blood cells come up and form a type that can fight that particular disease. So when you're exposed to that disease, it's not new to your body. The body has already had it. It could be an example like when you went to countries, maybe when you regularly do something. I'll give an example. The person regularly goes to the gym. They may not develop these joint pains and all that because the body is used to that exercise. So that's what happens with vaccination. And when we are sure that what we have can fight this, I think this is a guarantee. I usually want to give people a common example that I know everyone at least those that were born from 86 upwards were able to benefit from mass vaccination, that is of measles, where now people can have measles, kids have measles, but they'll have mild symptoms, red eyes, some bit of rash. They can't even be playing because they were vaccinated. But those that weren't, it is disaster. Previously, you would hear measles attacks the entire village. People are mourning here. Someone has died, a young child has died, an infant has died. But today, it's all about, oh, we have measles, you have measles, okay, but just take this and that. So that is what we are looking at. Have the vaccines, take these vaccines, and ensure that the community, the people are very strong. Because today we are talking about this Omicron. Maybe, who knows, that they will discover Omirice. So, or any other name that may come up. So we cannot be sure that these mutations are going to stop. But what we can be sure of is that we have a vaccine. We have vaccines that can boost our immune system, and we are good to go despite having many infections. Because where the challenge comes is, away from the lockdowns, we look at how much governments were spending, or how much governments spend when it comes to treatment. So if you can solve and stop this expenditure, that can be diverted to other areas. Remember, we have tuberculosis, we have HIV/AIDS, all these kind of went to a standstill. Everything was on COVID. Billions of money, if you remember the budgets that were allocated, trillions actually, went into COVID-19, which maybe could have gone into something else. We had supplementary budgets, but we had even a time when they were cutting government agencies, their budget, ministries, their budget, to bring some money to a pool for COVID-19. So any person watching us this morning, the biggest question must be, are you vaccinated? Okay. If not, what are you waiting for? And for government, what more do you need to do to ensure that vaccines are readily available and easily accessible? The good thing is they are free of charge in Uganda, so you don't have to spend any penny. But bring them closer, these vaccination centers, closer to people. I think this is the time that getting a COVID jab could be as easy as you moving to the next point to get a cab.
Okay. The Omicron cases continue to be registered across Africa. Of course, you do have Botswana, you do have Ghana, Mozambique in there, Nigeria, Senegal, Namibia, South Africa, and Zimbabwe. And now also Uganda has been added to that list. Now, we do have three challenges. One, it's a festive season. The expectation is that our tourism industry should be getting boosted right about this time in the wake of these new cases that have been confirmed by our Ministry of Health. What is the implication and the impact of it on the tourism sector, Felix?
Well, of course, the tourism sector entirely relies on aspects of, one, political stability, proven existence of infrastructure. Third is the existence of the absence of existing medical health fears. For example, and these are categorical. For example, a tourist may not fail to come to Uganda because they say Uganda has high numbers of HIV/AIDS people, because unless they are coming to have sexual intercourse,
sexual tourism,
or sexual tourism. But if I don't know, but that's your concoction. But I don't know. I've not heard of sexual tourism. I don't know, but she has traveled a lot, so probably. But I know that
the Omicron variant was first identified by scientists
that will cause people to stampede, that induce fear.
Say Ebola, when Ebola, exactly. Which tourists could miss.
Perfect. That's a very good example, Robert. That when you hear of a country where Ebola is, you have cholera, some of these diseases that you may get in contact with necessarily by either sharing the same airspace or touching. So when you talk about tourism, there is a direct effect on coronavirus to tourism. Direct and that's no doubt. Secondly, once you can prove that there's a direct effect on coronavirus, on the virus, or generally coronavirus, on aspects of tourism, you will then be able to mention or bring into tango the aspect of the economy. Because as it affects tourism, so does it affect exportation of goods, for example. As it affects the exportation or importation, if you want to look at that, it does also affect interpersonal transactions, because there are people up till yesterday that don't want to go back to town. The offices who have been operating at 20% now will cut. I went to one of law firms and they had to make me fill a form, and the form was asking, have you been in contact with them? Have you just come back to Uganda? Have you and I always do associate work with these people. But that is now the threat that has come with the new the variant. It means that with continued scares of COVID-19, there's a big scare against the economy generally. It means that, and once people start having, and you see we are dealing with a very informal group as Ugandans, that even when yesterday, they talk in town, Tudayomu lockdown, Tudayomu lockdown, Tudayomu, that kind of now. With that kind of fear, it will definitely directly also affect the socio-economic welfare of Uganda.
And you don't blame that kind of fear, because
no, you can't.
If you see how just developed countries have responded to this particular variant, there's already
thank you so
the
much.
Restrictions, the bans from particular countries that
and no wonder
high numbers,
last week
that definitely is causing restriction on travel.
When you saw His Excellency Ramaphosa coming out to take it against the USA and some of the countries that had red listed South Africa. Now, because that alone is not an effect to international relations, it also directly affects the domestic transactions.
Yeah, South
you get it? Because imagine, okay, away from people who will travel to US or what, but if some of these people, when they see some actions being taken by particular entities, the thought is that
it's the new appetite.
It's the new thing, you know. And now yesterday when Uganda noticed these cases, when I was talking to someone in the UK, they were like, no, don't be, you'll be surprised that now UK is going to put Uganda on the red list. And there are many other countries.
But you see what?
So it's a bit a challenge to socio-economic welfare, yet it shouldn't. And that's been the cry of the World Health Organization, that these big brothers, the so-called big brothers, have taken corona to another level, and their status and how they handle corona has continuously abused these other small countries in terms of sharing of the vaccines. And you've had these cries continuously. If you guys were fair enough, these countries probably would have vaccinated more.
The percentage
in terms of these restrictions they put on countries, you know. So all these will directly affect the economic status of Ugandans. And the only key to unlock such threats is if our government responds by doing the right thing.
Okay, all right. Of course, several countries have been put on travel restrictions. We do have South Africa that has been banned from the likes of the USA and across Europe, China, which is very defunding. You do have Dr. Jane Aruth, who's the Minister for Health, last week saying that incoming travelers who test positive shall be traced and also put under home-based care or health facility-based isolation, depending on the severity of the disease. Now, the other challenge that comes in the wake of this new information and the variant in Uganda is the promised reopening of the economy come 2022, something that every one of us has been excited about. We've been excited about seeing some of those sectors that have been under partial lockdown, some full lockdown, being given the liberty to now breathe once again. But in the wake of this new information, a few days to 2022, what does this mean? Do we have to go back to the drawing board? Will the president have to wait a little longer, or what? How do we move forward?
Well, I can't speak in the minds of His Excellency, but I want to use a phrase that usually says, he says his speeches are science-led. That when we are discussing issues of COVID-19, it's all about what do the scientists say. Now, when we look at this new variant, what does the World Health Organization say? That's why Felix earlier alluded to the fact that who is wondering why these countries are rushing to take these drastic took measures against other countries. One, the Omicron. Let's understand, they tell you it spreads very fast, but it's not that lethal. So we've come to understand and realize that we can no longer, and I want to repeat this, confine ourselves because of COVID-19. Because this COVID-19 thing can even be here for a decade. And that clearly explains why we can no longer cherish or use lockdowns as the method. What we can do is perfect the standard operating procedures at personal level at all costs. Then second, ensure that we boost our immune system. So when we talk about the reopening, for me, I don't think this is a threat in any way. It just calls for us to up our game. How? Let's ensure that many Ugandans are vaccinated. Also, what are you waiting for our parliament to pass the proposal that everybody coming into this country, let them have been vaccinated, have a vaccination certificate? Because then this will help us know that even if a tourist enters Uganda, or anybody who has not come as a tourist, they'll have mild symptoms, Senyiga flu. You must remember that this normal flu once killed people in huge numbers. About maybe 100 decades back, it once killed people in huge numbers. So, if we have a huge population vaccinated, then even when we have these cases of COVID-19, life will fairly continue in a normal way. So this is not a threat. It would have been a threat if World Health Organization came up and said this is even more dangerous than Delta. You know, the vaccines we have on market cannot work, cannot boost, cannot provide that immunity we need because of this virus. But to me, it's more or less than what we've been having. And of course, it means that what we had put in place, what we had planned, the only problem we have with Uganda is sometimes we become complacent over a time. Remember when you had just left the second wave, people were dying left, center. You'd see these sirens, ambulances. People were scared. COVID is killing. People are dying. And you saw how we rushed for vaccination. But now over time, I think looking at our positivity rate, looking at the death register, it seems there's some complacency and people are like, so this then comes on government, emphasize. For me, I'm for mandatory. I'm for mandatory. Because Priscilla, when you know, with health things are funny. If you're vaccinated, maybe we stay in the same family, one is not vaccinated. You see, this person falling sick, remember how COVID was very expensive. COVID treatment was very expensive to government and the privates in private hospitals. So it's therefore to ensure that I'm only safe when you're also safe. We are all safe when you're all vaccinated. Well,
speaking of safety and protection, and this one I want to direct to the active practitioner of education with us. When you look at the reopening of schools come 10th January 2022, you do have now the release of the minor population getting back into the public space without much of control, except that which will be under the school administration, adherence to SOPs in the wake of a new variant in the country. What does this look like in preparation of schools reopening? What more emphasis and enforcement must be taken to be ensured to safeguard our children come next year?
Well, I think just as any other sector should be at the forefront.
And we're considering the bracket that is not vaccinatable right now?
Well, as I said, that just like any other sector, you would want to task the institutions of education to be able to be at the forefront of their interest in terms of reopening their particular facilities. You don't, we've been there before. The good things that it has been tried at a particular level. Remember when you had what His Excellency called staggering man of reopening academic institutions. It has been tried, it has been tested, it has worked. Now you know how to better the game. In terms of the SOPs, or what you want to call those accepted practices on fighting the spread of the virus, but also the move to have all institution staff vaccinated contributes directly into the national grid. Secondly, every sector, Priscilla and Robert, must have a fair share in the fight against COVID-19. Kasita, as the head of the business community, what are they doing? Are they rallying their members? Are they pushing them? Are they facilitating the vaccination campaign as that group? The education sector in your various forums, whatever, non-states, all of them, how are you facilitating this whole campaign? Now, when you go to the fishing community, because the lockdown, you remember, it didn't isolate anyone. Go to the transport sector, go to the SMEs, go to the corporate world, you know, all sectors in terms of sports. For me, last time I wanted to go and watch the game of Vida Jogo, and I think was it you playing URA and SC Villas playing URA? And I can imagine, how do you have soccer without supporters? Is it even a game? Now, what is the contribution of the sports fraternity? I think this is the time where every industry, every sector of our economy should be at the forefront of their own line to assist. As she asked about schools, schools will do their part, and probably schools will be reopened. How about the people of the markets? The leaderships, let's use these structures. Let's actually maximize these structures to prepare for 2022 when we want to have our economy open. Bar owners, entertainment, guys, stop crying on TVs and radios. Be at the fore. You have the capacity, you have numbers. What are you using instead of being there and fussing about Batugade, Miakebili, Fetufa? I mean, that's your problem.
Maybe Priscilla, just in less than a minute to supplement on schools reopening.
And I'm counting.
Yeah, one of the things that some parents are scared for people who are under 18 that have not been vaccinated. Actually, I was speaking to one of the experts, Dr. Alfred Ruwale, and he told me this class of people under 18, even when they get COVID, their body immune system has the capacity to do some bit of fighting, and that's why, remember, after school we didn't lose any child, but when they went home, the oldies, those who were not vaccinated had issues. So you, the parent, take your child when school reopens, but ensure that all of you family members are vaccinated, because there will be a vector which will not be affected to the extent, but for you, if you're not vaccinated, you will.
Half a minute is what he has used, but in conclusion, of course, what we know from the World Health Organization is that, one, it spreads very fast, but it has mild effects for that matter. And also, the current vaccines on the market can still fight against the new variant Omicron. But at the end of the day, if we're going to be ending COVID-19 as a pandemic in the entire world, we are not safe until everyone is safe. So the fight is with you and me. If the whole world's going to be safe, it starts with you and me. Make sure that you go for your vaccination. And we do have Cricket Gargamel in Machindi, who comes out and says, good morning everyone, no matter how many variants are evolving, vaccination should be the song of the day. Government is challenging challenged to sensitize more about vaccination, and the campaign has to be championed on. So vaccination is the song for today, tomorrow, until the reopening of the economy 2022. Get yourself that jab. For now, we turn to the papers and how they've actually dabbed the 7 cases of Omicron variant in Uganda.
Transact and win money after money with Airtel Money. 1.5 billion shillings in cash prizes up for grabs.
Ngani Kete Mariam, Nyonyintono, Tabedo Jinja, Tadio Star 185, Tachulo Rigo TV for a month. After 2 days, your Airtel Jobinojo Goran Simu, Sana winning 100,000.
The more you transact, the higher your chances of winning. Airtel Money, instant, secure, borderless.
Patriotism is a feeling of love, devotion, and the willingness to sacrifice for one's country.
I say no to corruption because I put my country first. I choose peace over violence because I put my country first.
I love Uganda. I serve Uganda. I sacrifice for Uganda. I'm loyal to Uganda. I love my soul.
Be patriotic. Uganda first. This message is brought to you by the National Secretariat for Patriotism Co Uganda, Office of the President.
It's the festive season and we love it. And that means it's time to celebrate with GoTV.
Come with me.
So get your GoCoder and GoTV value for 25,000 shillings to watch with the whole family. And if you're feeling extra festive, upgrade to our best package yet, GoTV Super.
Something to look forward to.
Download the My GoTV app for more information.
Super.
We all deserve a super festive season. And with GoTV, there's every reason to love it.
Raising voices.
I feel happy when my mother spends time with me. I hope all mothers will like my mother. I want my mother to reach out to all mothers. She knows how important it is to be a good mother. I promise to help my mother inspire other mothers to change.
In this time of COVID, what is your promise to the children of Uganda? Because a violence-free childhood is everyone's right. Raising voices.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
With us on UBC TV, it's always our mandate to ensure that we start off your morning a very informed person and ensure that you fit in any discussion, any conversation, because you made the right choice to start your morning with us. It is time now we look at some of those catchy stories in the print media. I'm holding the New Vision. My colleague has the Daily Nation and the Daily Monitor. While beginning it off is a big headline there, ADF, UN Security Council briefed. That is the meeting between the President and, of course, permanent residents here regarding the United Nations Security Council. Still looking at the New Vision, we have COVID variant Omicron patients in stable condition, something we've just been discussing here, and security update, suspected bomb carrier netted in Busia. And still end of lockdown, Senior 1 Physics, Senior 2 English, Senior 3 Biology and Chemistry. The Vision has brought you more of that. And still we look at the Vision, okay, where shareholders commended the group for resiliency throughout the COVID-19 times. Yes, Felix.
And with the Daily Monitor, while US sanctions Spy Master Kandiho and Museveni briefs UN Security Council on Congo operations, why you shouldn't follow interior design trends with caution. Now, Uganda confirms 7 cases of Omicron variant and government lists rules for taking food through airport. Now, rise in demand for workers, survey reports. But also, still in the Daily Monitor, students use COVID SOPs to cheat exams in Chambogo, and URS sets new tax rules for land buyers. So now from the archives, the US President then, John F. Kennedy, and met Prime Minister Bendikito Chiwanuka. That was in the year 1961. Now today in history, Libya government agrees to facilitate return of Ugandan nurses, and Chinese nationalists move capital to Taiwan.
Back to the New Vision, we begin with a COVID-19 tracker for Uganda, where new confirmed cases are 18, positivity rate is 0.4%. New deaths 2 and total deaths registered in this country so far is at 3,258 persons that have succumbed to COVID-19. Now the parenting quorum and the questions being asked today: why is my 16-year-old so withdrawn? And the experts in parenting there, the Nyonyintono, answer that question for you. Then, will my little boys become real men? That is a question from a single mother of 2 boys, and of course there is a reply there for you. Today in history, it was on this date, the 8th of November, the year 1998, when Museveni and Bashir were to end war. But also on the same date, the year 1980, John Lennon fatally was shot dead by a fan. He was one of the Beatles, and this shocked the entire world.
Now in sports boxing, grandfather Kawere goes to rest. They also give you a glance of what he was able to participate in. Now he did school national international boxing, that was in 1944. 1945, Namiryango College boxing captain. 1949, represented Uganda as a sprinter. 1949, member of Uganda football and squad in Zambia football. Captain Uganda Boxing Club. 1958, 58 Commonwealth silver medalist there. did go to rest. Now, UEFA Champions League, small margin away for the two Sevilla, that is Lille, and of course Leipzig. Now, UTA Kabira partner there, where we see at least guys in tennis will have something good coming. We see a partnership there with Tanzania, Kenya, and Rwanda. Now, Wolby URS survive Jogo's scare in UPL, and Silverbacks back home hope for better, that is prep. Now here they give you icon Kawede packs no more punches. We see a very beautiful photo here with him trying to throw a jab at also another veteran in the boxing there, Godfrey Nyakana, during his fighter award in 2015.
Back to the New Vision Sport. Why is police side winless? That is a very big question mark there. And still we look at making a case for Uganda under 20s, and Villa earns key points in what? Well, more of this. Ruben will be here to give you all the highlights in the world of sports and those interesting conversations and light moments in the sports arena.
Also, we'll touch base with the Daily Nation, where we see Kasha Kin fight recover their that is properties from Kenyan courts, and the big headline: Raila beats Oka to win Tycoon's backing for 2022. There still the race is still loggerheads between Raila and of course Ruto. Now, Dr. Killer officer, it was a matter when not if. Of course, there are a couple of those riots that did take place and what happened. They give you a debrief in all the events that took place then. But of course, for more of such, get yourself copies of the dailies and you will be able to look at the full details of the stories. But what else detail we have to give you is how you do get yourself into Kampala with Priscilla Nalwoga.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Felix Nkunda. We want to look at, of course, the place that is having road construction, Kalere Waise, that has caused continuous jam within the heart of the city into yet a third day of the week. Now, of course, we do have Bombo Road that is giving you indicators of traffic. Now, between Waise and Kalere, there's definitely a lot of traffic that you will be expecting there. So we want to follow some of those back routes that can be used by people. One of them, of course, is in Nsoba area code, where you get to join Nsoba through the Chisinjiri route, which is this route here that gives you a direct access into Old Mulago. Now, if you join that route, it's going to give you a direct access to what is known as the Old Mulago, or even the Kalere roundabout from Wandegea, between the market and Wandegea, or what is known as the Makere Kavure area code. We also do have another route that can be used. Still, Chisinjiri Street can bring you and drop you at the Old Mulago roundabout. Of course, if you get to see the state of traffic around the two roundabouts, it's definitely indicators of stoppage jam, meaning that it's not moving in between the two roundabouts. And also, because everyone is using these routes as the back connecting routes into the heart of the city, there's definitely a little bit of slow movement there in terms of traffic. Also, we do have the Katanga connection between Wandegea and this Binaisa road, and people use it also as an alternative shortcut. Now, this traffic, to avoid the madness that is on the New Mulago roundabout, and also what is usually as heavy traffic within the Wandegea traffic lights area code, you get to have people going through the Katanga area code, getting into Wandegea, and then they will either get into Mackay University, go the other side of Mackay University, and come out from Mackay Road to be able to avoid the traffic that is on Bombo Road, which is a clear indicator of red zones, especially for traffic that is coming in right from Makere Road and getting through the traffic lights on Wandegea, and a red line still from the traffic light onto the roundabout at Mulago. Now, you also do have Kira Road that has a red zone right from past Mulago Hospital and onto the roundabout. Another red zone that is coming in from the likes of Yusuf Lude Road, and of course the red zone that is coming in from Binaisa Road. Now, this definitely is a no-go area for you. If this was your usual route as of every morning, you might want to find alternative routes, because if the red line is stretching right from Makere Road onto the Mulago roundabout, that means means that there's a problem somewhere and you need to sort that. Of course, given the fact that also the construction on the Kalere area code is also contributing to how heavy this jam is looking like. But a sneak peek into the rest of Kamocha, you also get to see that Mawanda Road is the other route that people are using right through to Sinjiri Road to be able to connect to the other parts of the city. And it also gives you an indicator, surprisingly or ironically, this traffic should be the traffic that is heading from Mawanda Road connecting to Kalere. But because again of those construction works going on the other side of Kawempe division, you do have Mawanda Road acting as an optional route right now for traffic management. And so you do have a red zone all through Mawanda Road and trying to connect to Kamocha area code, which seems to be clear. On Kira Road interaction, you do have a clear road there, but in between there, of course, there's so many routes that can't give you a connection either to Mulago or even Bukoto backwards, and are all having some sort of traffic jam. Another, of course, connector route that is giving you a traffic jam is the Kamocha Trading Center, where you do have a connection into Millennium Terrace, and there's a red zone there. Of course, you do know that commuter taxis do contribute to that kind of traffic jam. Now, Kira Road interacting with the rest of Bukoto or Lugogo bypass is entirely managed by the traffic lights and is giving you clear indication of that traffic. You enter into the area code of Bukoto, opposite St. Andrew's Church in Bukoto. Not such a busy area code this morning. The traffic lights are also doing their part of the job to manage the traffic. We want to have a sneak peek into the Bukoto Chisasi area code, where you do have some traffic that should ideally potentially be building up, and so is the case. When you look at the Bukoto Chisasi Road, you get to see some of those routes that, of course, this is Bukoto Chisasi, but then you get to see a red line that is coming in right from Kamocha, and of course the connecting route that brings you back to the Cheba and the Chisaro that then connects to the Chebando roundabout, which is having a reconstruction there in some of its routes. But again, it's also being used as an alternative route for traffic away from the Kawempe division hectic traffic that has been cumbersome for the last 2 days. And so you get to see the red zones there, red lines giving you a connection route into the likes of Chebando, Chisano Saro, and you see red zones stretching all through Chisano Sayo. You also do have Moyo Close that is giving you an indicator of red zones on either side. One, because the road is narrow, especially at the sharp corners, but also because of the traffic in the Chisano Saro road that then brings you right into the Bukoto Chisasi route, which also gives you an indicator of the red line that we are seeing on the Bukoto Chisasi road. So if those are your routes this morning, you might want to consider time, money, and the fuel prices are very important in consideration of which routes you're going to be taking this morning. Now, of course, we do have respondents to our poll question. We do have Joel Epidu in Nakao who says, you see, these rich people are the ones that are killing us. How can they go to South Africa to bring us another disease even after hearing that it is there? You know how the streets of Kampala are now. People are many only just passing through. Very many will get the variant. It's good now to be with us. Well, he does make a point. Travelers must have consideration, of course, if they're going to such countries. They are hot-spotted countries in terms of COVID-19 and the new variant. And so they have to be extra vigilant and careful. And then also, given the fact that it's a festive season, everyone is in Kampala to do some sort of shopping, and so people need to be more considerate now more than ever because of the many numbers in the city center. Okay. Good morning, Uganda. This is Amina Dawa from Arua City. Well, thank you so much, Amina, and greetings to you, members of Arua City. The measures are that campaigns for vaccinations should be intensified and sanitization at all times should be continued to be preached, but still better, let the government purchase enough vaccines, which the government is doing. At least that one, we give it a tick. They're doing everything in their power to have as many vaccines coming in. As of tomorrow, we'll be receiving another batch of Johnson & Johnson. alone, 3.2 million doses coming in. So for vaccination, I think they're doing their job. You continue to say, I heard there are no vaccines in Bududa and people are still waiting for their second doses. Furthermore, there should be an outreach vaccination exercise because some of these selected areas of vaccination are far away from the reach, especially for the elderly. Thank you so much for that contribution. We do have Yandu from Arua who is saying corruption has totally ruined the economy of this country. All parameters. Omicron shouldn't be an excuse in any way out. Malaria kills more than any other infection in the country on a daily, and so we should be more vigilant. This is fightable. If we have been able to fight malaria, why can't we fight a new variant? Okay. Good morning, UBC. Your channel is what the government uses to reach millions of Ugandans. Can government please ensure that Ugandans that we are not just going to throw money to schools early in January just for the president to announce another lockdown? Things are already hard as it is. Let's not make it worse. Okay, of course, that's a nice argument that there should be consideration. Don't allow the economy to reopen, people invest, and then you back into a lockdown. Those are going to be losses for the economy. Molan Kenyana, what is your take on this as you give us weather, nature, and climate?
Well, I think it makes point when people are concerned that there could be another lockdown, but also I think this is not something that should worry us really, because like you did go about it in the newsreel, this is not a variant that is lethal. So that means that we can actually live with it. So I don't think we should go as far as thinking lockdowns, but rather also have government come up to assure people of how the situation is. Giant black box. Now this is the first Earth's black box that is going to hold scientists and the world accountable of what we're doing in terms of climate crisis. Now this has been built by Tasmania University in Australia. They have had to build something that is going to store lots and lots of data and also from internet. So this will be even tapping into the information posted on Twitter, anything about climate change really, and this has been powered, it is going to be powered by solar but also with battery. Now the developers of this black box do tell us that it is going to be really something that looks into the next 5 decades. That means that all the scientific data that is stored can be encoded by people in the future to make sure that, you know, the world is held accountable, and also for those generations to see what really went wrong, what happened, so that they avoid the mistakes that we're doing right now, because I can tell you there is a lot of those. So this black box, it is as big as you could see the size of a bus. So that means that there is a lot of hard drives. Now this Reuters and CNN did come out yesterday to cover the extent of this black box, and they're saying already the hard drives that have been inserted into this box are downloading the data so far. So it is still in development stage and more is to be done, but at least there is proof that some of the data has already started downloading across this platform for the Earth's black box. Now, what is stored there and how can it be encoded in the future? So now we know that there is going to be climate data. What is most of the policies that come out, like for example the recent Glasgow Pact that is talking about, you know, what measures have been taken, especially now they're talking about the coal reduction and you know, avoiding use of coal. So all this data is what is stored. Now in the future, when people are able to encode this black box and get this information, they will be able to see what really happened with the Glasgow Pact, what the agreements that were, the articles that were put across with this pact, were they actually fulfilled? Did governments do what they promised to do at such a pact? So this is a path that is supposed to help the future generations to take another course and avoid the mistakes that we're doing right now. So this is something really amazing, and it has put in a place where it is supposed to withstand the general crisis. So that means come rain or shine, this black box is here to stay and will still be powered even in the next generation. So that is something nice that is coming through, especially now that we're talking about what can be done in terms of climate action. But also talking about climate action,
The Earth group, that is actually young people, Friends of the Earth, are suing Britain for funding a project in Mozambique. Now, these guys did come out. We saw them start the campaign in 2015. They were demonstrating, that was at Hotel La Bourget near Paris, during the climate change conference that led to the Paris agreements that we are still following up to today. Now, their demonstration was about most of the countries that do pledge to help, especially vulnerable countries, but in so doing, they end up destroying what is there. So they did come out yesterday to sue Britain over a project that is liquefied natural gas in Mozambique. And they are seeking to block the money that is being injected into this project. And we're talking about 1.15 billion US dollars. And they're saying that instead of having this money go to a project that is specifically about fossil fuels, because we are looking at liquefied natural gas. We're trying to abolish natural gas, and Britain is not listening. So Friends of the Earth did take it to court on holding them accountable. But also you look at the fact that this money could have been diverted towards renewable energy in Mozambique. This is a country that is equally vulnerable, and you know, it's an African country. So when these big countries come up with funding for projects, they should also be considered that we are now moving to renewable energy. It's not just because, you know, we are unable to afford, but you giving a loan to Mozambique to start up such a project, and then 10 years later you want them to abandon it, it is still a loan. So that means that Mozambique will continue paying for this loan on a project that was actually abandoned because it's not moving towards renewable energy. So this is a waste, and I'm glad that there are groups that are, you know, taking it to court and holding them legally about such actions. And also I think this goes to most of our Africa leaders and our climate policy makers. Really, if such money is coming and you know it is going to be diverted into a project that is, you know, not going to stay for a while, why even allow it in the first place? So I think we cannot wait for groups like that to, you know, be coming out to contest this in court, but also we should be vigilant when we are accepting such grants, because from what I was reading from the articles published about the story is that Mozambique was actually very well aware of this kind of project. It's liquefied natural gas, so that means it's not renewable, and it is still one of those gases we are trying. It's producing the gases that we're trying to avoid. That means that it should have been even stopped at the very beginning, not to wait for the loans to first come through and then you hope someone will protest this kind of move. So I think it is still a challenge for a lot of African countries, really, and it's a shame that we continue letting this happen to us, especially in a time when we're talking about climate action. The only way to go forward is by renewable energy. So any money that is coming through to fund fossil fuels or natural gas is just a waste, because I can tell you sooner or later those are going to phase out. And the Glasgow Pact was very clear. We're phasing out coal, we're phasing out all these fossil fuels in an act to look at a better future, avoid these gases that are trapping the heat in the atmosphere, and you know, in turn bring all these extreme weather events. So I think it is about time that we wake up and also look at help, whether it's really help that is coming through or it is help to destroy us. But well, I will help with the weather that is going on across the country right now, and that is by taking a look at our satellite coverage over Uganda for this morning. And it looks like we did have that rainy system that started up earlier across the Lake Victoria Basin, and that was bringing rains most especially to the eastern part of the Lake Victoria Basin, and also parts of Western Kenya across Kisumu. That rainy system is still there, bringing rains over that place, and more of that is headed westwards. So even the cloudiness that we have right now across Kampala is from this rainy system. It looks like it could also be dumping a few rains later as the day progresses. We also did start off with that intense system also it is quite in the middle of Lake Victoria, that is in deep red, yellow and green colors. Those are rains over there. there, but not yet to the shores of the lake. But it is also moving westward, so we can expect this to actually move closer, and that might be bringing us rains later in the morning. We also did start off with one rainy system as well across a northwestern part of the country, also towards central northern Uganda, but that is also, it looks like it is clearing away and might lead to sunny intervals as the day progresses. So that is not really at much intensity, and the good news is that it's starting to fade away. I don't know whether that makes good news, because this area has actually been having mostly sunny conditions. So in this case, I want to think it is good news that they did wake up with a little bit of rains. Now the rest of the country seems to be doing with mostly cloudy conditions. We do have much sunshine though across the Karamoja region, starting off hot also for the extreme end of central northern Uganda, across Kitgum as well, Padel, still a sunny morning. Looking at the eastern part of the country, across Mbale also sunny skies, and also towards Soroti we do have a mix of clouds there, but much sunshine over that area. Across Masindi, midwestern Uganda, that is Fort Portal as well, looking at a sunny morning. We do have intervals of cloudy conditions, but most of those will be developing into rainy conditions later in the afternoon. We'll go ahead and take a look at our forecast for this morning in details and look at different areas and the temperatures that are expected across the country. Now we start off with central northern Uganda, where we have Jumani, Gulu, Kitgum and Padel. We're forecasting quite a sunny morning over there, starting off with a warm 28 degrees centigrade. Looking at the eastern part of Lake Victoria Basin, where we have Tororo, Busia, Iganga, Jinja, we're already starting off with those clouds, but there will be a mix of sunshine, starting off at 27 degrees centigrade, quite a warm morning. We do expect even later in the afternoon to have most of those sunny intervals. Now the eastern part of central, where we have Luwero, Wobulenzi, Bururi, Nakaseke, we're forecasting a mix of clouds and sunshine, starting off with a hot 27 degrees centigrade, and those temperatures will be going up as the day progresses. Now Soroti also starting off with mostly sunny conditions, looking at a maximum of 28 for this morning. That is quite hot weather. Even in the afternoon we do expect more sunshine to come through, so we could be looking at also lower 30s by afternoon across eastern Uganda. Now the Elgon region, where we have Mbale, Bududa, Buko and Sironko, we're forecasting a mix of clouds and sunshine, starting off with a warm 27 as well. That's quite warm weather over that area, and we do expect even in the afternoon to also maintain such warm weather. Now southwestern Uganda, where we have Mbarara, Ibanda, Bushenyi, Bugirizi, we're looking at also intervals of sunny and cloudy conditions, starting off at 26, but that area is most likely to have rains later in the afternoon, so it's not to the comfort zone right now. Now we look at the western side of Lake Victoria, where we have Masaka, Kadisizo, Sembabule, Rakai. We're looking at those isolated showers. We already have clouds coming in towards that area, and that is the system that will be developing into light rains, also starting off with a pleasant 26 degrees centigrade, and the system will continue into the afternoon. So also for the central part of Lake Victoria, where we have Entebbe, Wakiso, Kampala, Mukono, Buyuko is in that category as well. We look at some of those isolated rains. Like I said, the system is moving forward, and that could be damping rains across several places, but starting off with a pleasant 26 degrees centigrade, and that system might also stick around even for parts of the afternoon. We could be looking at more rains over that area, but mostly where places we are looking at that have had reduced wet weather conditions are the central part of the country as well as eastern Uganda. So that area continues with reduced wet weather activities, and most of the systems actually for this time of the year, you look at the high pressure systems that usually develop north of Africa, and whenever those are there, they keep pushing in dry winds. So in turn, those reduce wet weather activities, especially for the northern sector. So at a time like this, when we're talking about intensifying of those pressure systems, that means that we're going to see a reduction in wet weather activities, mostly across eastern Uganda and also northern Uganda. Now, what we usually benefit from as Uganda are the local effects. Having Lake Victoria there, it enhances some of the rainy conditions. So that's why you see that most times Kampala, Entebbe, those areas that are around Lake Victoria Victoria are able to get rains even when we're talking about a general reduction. So most of those rains are being influenced by Lake Victoria. Same goes as well for the Elgon region. So the areas across Mbale, Bududa also do have that effect of Mount Elgon that contributes to the wet weather activity. So even when there is that kind of general reduction, these areas still have continuous rains. But we're looking at a period where we're headed for some dry spells, and we'll be giving you an update into what is forecast for January and February in terms of weather during our daily updates here in Good Morning Uganda. Well, we do have Good Morning Uganda agenda coming up, and Robert will be here to take you through, but you can also continue with our conversations. We're live on YouTube, that is UBC Television Uganda, and catch more of what is coming. My name is Molin Kenyana. Have a good morning.